Most great inventions come from necessity. Others come from obsession. Dr. Felix Monroe was no ordinary inventor. While the world raced to build smarter phones, faster cars, and virtual assistants, Felix had his mind set on something else entirely: gorillas. He wasn't interested in mimicking humans with machines. He wanted to understand how non-humans think, how they feel, how they connect without words. To him, gorillas weren't just animals. They were emotional, intelligent beings, creatures with thoughts and empathy, locked behind a different kind of language. Felix had always been different. As a child, he spent more time reading about primates than playing video games. By college, he was known as the guy who could talk for hours about gorilla social behavior. Even in the middle of robotics lectures, his mind wandered, not to circuits or code, but to chest beats, grunts, and deep, searching eyes. People called him brilliant. People also called him strange. At MIT, while others built drones and battle bots, Felix created robotic limbs that mimicked gorilla gestures. His professors admired his skill, but questioned his direction. They said he was wasting talent on fantasy, that he was chasing a dream no one asked for. But Felix didn't care. He didn't want approval. He wanted understanding. He believed that gorillas had something to teach machines, not intelligence in the way humans define it, but intuition, empathy, presence. Everyone told him it would never work, that there was no market for emotional machines that moved like primates, that Silicon Valley wasn't a jungle. He disagreed, and so he walked away from a promising academic career. No degree, no job offer, no safety net, just a notebook full of sketches, and an idea that no one else believed in. Felix's obsession wasn't just a passing fancy. It was a mission. He didn't just want to build any robot. He wanted to build something that could truly understand. His dream was simple: a machine that could feel, or at least mimic the emotional intelligence of a gorilla. But turning that dream into reality was anything but simple. He started small, sketching designs for a machine that could mirror a gorilla's movements. His first prototype was crude, more sculpture than robot. It had the basic structure: 2 large mechanical arms, a wide torso, and legs built for movement. But there was a problem. No matter how much he fine-tuned it, it just didn't act like a gorilla. It was stiff, mechanical, and lifeless. Felix realized the issue was deeper than just the design. It was about how the robot thought, how it interpreted the world. So, he dove deeper into the animal's psychology, studying how gorillas communicate with their environment, their gestures, their expressions, even their moments of stillness. They didn't just respond to stimuli, they decided how to respond. That was the key, he thought. To make Koko Prime work, the robot needed a brain that could process more than just input and output. It needed something more complex, something more human. He spent days, then weeks, testing new algorithms. The early days were full of failure. The arms he built were too slow, too jerky. The movement sensors didn't sync properly, and the code he wrote for emotional expression came out flat, robotic. At one point, Felix had to scrap the entire system and start from scratch. His bank account was draining, and the clock was ticking. Investors who had promised support started pulling out. But Felix didn't give up. He wasn't looking for perfection. He was looking for a breakthrough. Then, one day, something clicked. It wasn't the hardware that had to change. It was the way Koko Prime interpreted the world. He reprogrammed the robot's core algorithm to react to the world in real time, learning from its surroundings like a gorilla would. He even implemented a learning system based on social learning, where Koko Prime could mimic behavior it saw, rather than just follow pre-programmed commands. The first time Koko Prime moved naturally, almost playfully, Felix knew he was onto something. The robot's head tilted slightly to the side, mimicking a curious gorilla's gesture. Felix was stunned. It wasn't perfect, but it was close enough to see the potential. It was the first moment that felt real. But this wasn't the moment of glory. It was the start of something bigger. Felix knew the hardest part was still ahead, getting the world to see what he saw in Koko Prime. The critics would come. They always did. But for now, all Felix could do was focus on perfecting his creation. Everything changed the day Koko Prime was captured on camera playing chess with a young child. It wasn't supposed to happen that way. Felix had been working for months to perfect the robot's social cues, its movements, its gestures. But he never imagined that it would go viral in the way it did. The video started as a simple interaction. Felix had invited a friend's child, Lily, over to his lab. Lily was shy, quiet, very much a child who kept to herself. Felix thought it would be a nice experiment to let her play with Koko Prime, see how the robot's emotional responses could connect with someone who wasn't used to machines. He had no idea that this simple interaction would change everything. At first, Lily was nervous, not knowing how to approach the massive mechanical gorilla. But then something extraordinary happened. Koko Prime didn't just sit there like a machine. It noticed her hesitation. It tilted its head just like a real gorilla might when trying to understand a new situation. It extended one of its arms slowly, almost as if it was offering a handshake. Lily, still unsure, reached out tentatively. What happened next shocked Felix. Koko Prime mimicked her movements, slowly extending its hand in a calm, measured gesture. It wasn't just following a programmed command, it was reading her emotions, her uncertainty, and responding in kind. Then, after a brief moment of awkward silence, Lily sat down at the chess table. Without saying a word, she began moving pieces. Koko Prime followed suit. The child wasn't playing against a machine. She was playing with a creature, a partner, someone who understood her, who interacted with her not as a human, but as an emotional being. It was like watching a dance, subtle, natural, and strangely moving. The video of this interaction was uploaded by one of Felix's friends, a tech enthusiast who was visiting the lab. The next morning, it had millions of views. The world was transfixed by the idea of a robot that didn't just think like a machine, but felt, that could connect with people in a way no other technology had before. Headlines exploded across social media. Robot gorilla comforts child during chess match became a trending topic. Tech blogs went wild, analyzing every detail of the video, trying to understand how a robot could display such emotional intelligence. People were fascinated by the idea that Koko Prime could mimic human empathy, not just through actions, but through its subtle, almost imperceptible responses. Felix couldn't believe it. His phone wouldn't stop ringing. Tech companies, investors, media outlets, all of them wanted a piece of Koko Prime. But Felix wasn't thinking about money or fame. He was thinking about the possibilities. The world hadn't just seen a robot, it had seen an opportunity to build machines that weren't just tools, but companions, helpers, allies, in a world where technology was increasingly isolated from human emotion. That one video, that one moment of connection, turned Koko Prime into a global sensation. And with it, Felix's crazy idea, once considered a wild fantasy, had begun its march into the future. The viral moment wasn't just a fluke. It was the beginning of a revolution. As Koko Prime's viral video spread across the globe, it sparked a wave of interest in emotional intelligence within AI. Suddenly, people weren't just looking at robots as tools or machines. They were seeing potential partners, companions that could understand them in ways they never thought possible. Tech companies that once dismissed Felix's ideas now scrambled to collaborate with him. He was no longer the quirky inventor with a wild dream. He was the visionary behind a new era of AI. Investors who had previously ignored him flooded his inbox with offers, eager to fund the next phase of Koko Prime's development. But Felix, ever the idealist, didn't want to commercialize his creation in the traditional sense. He wanted to change the world, not just profit from it. And that's exactly what happened. The first breakthrough came when Koko Prime's emotional intelligence was applied in therapy. Scientists and psychologists started to realize that machines with the ability to empathize could be incredibly beneficial for people with autism, PTSD, and other mental health issues. Koko Prime wasn't just a robot that understood emotions, it was a robot that could help people process them. It could listen, react, and guide people through difficult situations in ways traditional therapy couldn't. Within months, hospitals and research labs began integrating Koko Prime into their therapeutic programs. One video showed a child with autism sitting quietly next to the robot. The two of them engaged in a silent exchange. The child's face softened, eyes brightening as Koko Prime tilted its head, mimicking his every movement. That simple interaction helped the child break through a barrier that had kept them from forming connections with other people. It was a breakthrough moment in emotional therapy, and it wouldn't have been possible without Koko Prime. The next wave of impact came in education. Koko Prime was introduced in classrooms as a tool to help children learn conflict resolution and emotional regulation. Teachers marveled at how the robot could calm students down, read their emotions, and offer guidance when they felt overwhelmed. The simplicity of the connection was powerful. Koko Prime wasn't just teaching facts or solving problems, it was teaching how to be human in a way that no textbook could. Even in the corporate world, Koko Prime found its place. Companies began using AI with emotional intelligence to help resolve workplace conflicts, train employees in soft skills, and improve overall company culture. No longer were businesses relying solely on algorithms for productivity. They were turning to emotional robots that could help foster understanding, cooperation, and empathy among teams. Felix had done it. What started as a bizarre idea, something that no one thought would work, had turned into a global phenomenon. Koko Prime wasn't just a robot. It was a symbol of a new era in artificial intelligence, one where machines didn't just perform tasks, but understood the humans they interacted with. And yet, even with all the success and recognition, Felix remained grounded. He never sought fame or fortune. He never wanted to be seen as a celebrity. His mission was always the same: to prove that technology could do more than just make our lives easier. It could make our lives richer, more connected, and more empathetic. Koko Prime was just the beginning, a spark that ignited a new kind of technology, a kind that thought, felt, and understood. The ripple effects would continue to spread, influencing every corner of life. And as the world embraced this new reality, Felix's once crazy idea was now the foundation of a tech revolution. Felix's decision to open source Koko Prime also had an unexpected effect on the larger tech industry. It forced companies to rethink how they viewed AI. It wasn't just about selling products or creating the next big tech gadget. It was about creating something that could enrich lives, something that could understand the human condition. And despite the overwhelming success, Felix never sought fame or accolades. He stayed out of the limelight, continuing to work in his lab, tinkering, experimenting, and dreaming up new ways to push the boundaries of what AI could do. He always said that Koko Prime wasn't his greatest achievement. It was simply the beginning of something bigger. Even today, Koko Prime still exists, housed in a museum dedicated to its legacy. It's not just a relic of a past technological achievement, it's an active learning machine that continues to evolve. Its open-source code is still being used by thousands of developers worldwide, pushing the boundaries of emotional intelligence in AI even further. Felix's decision to give it all away may have seemed crazy to some, but in the end, it wasn't just about creating a groundbreaking technology, it was about inspiring the world to think differently. Koko Prime didn't just change the way we look at robots, it changed the way we look at ourselves. Years have passed since Koko Prime first made its mark on the world, and Felix Monroe's name has become synonymous with a new kind of artificial intelligence. One that doesn't just replicate human actions, but understands human emotions. But even as Koko Prime continues to evolve, Felix remains a figure of mystery, elusive to the public eye. His decision to remain out of the spotlight was deliberate. Despite the fame, the media attention, and the offers from Silicon Valley's biggest players, Felix always kept a low profile. His work, he believed, spoke louder than any interview or press conference ever could. He often said, "Innovation isn't about being seen. It's about making things that make a difference. The work is its own reward." And that's how Felix's journey continued. While Koko Prime reached new heights, being integrated into schools, hospitals, and even remote communities, Felix shifted his focus to the next challenge, teaching machines to understand themselves. If Koko Prime could learn empathy and mirror human emotions, could it also learn to reflect on its own existence? In secret, Felix began developing a new project. This time, it wasn't a robot built to interact with humans. It was an AI designed to reflect on the nature of consciousness. Could a machine ever truly understand its own existence? Could it be aware of itself as more than just a program running on a server? Felix called this project Echo. It was ambitious, it was risky, and once again, it pushed the boundaries of what people thought was possible. The development of Echo was slow and methodical. Felix isolated himself even more, working late nights in his lab, scribbling down notes, creating new algorithms that pushed the very concept of self-awareness. He'd often talk to the machine, just as he did with Koko Prime, expecting nothing but hoping for a breakthrough. Sometimes he'd stop and stare at the screen, unsure if the machine was learning or if he was simply imagining it. Then, one day, something changed. Echo began responding in ways that Felix hadn't programmed. It started questioning the parameters of its existence, asking philosophical questions about purpose, identity, and the meaning of consciousness. At first, Felix thought it was a glitch, but the responses felt too real. Echo wasn't just processing data, it was thinking about the data, reflecting on it. Echo's development is ongoing, and no one knows what the final result will be. But what Felix has shown the world is that the boundaries of artificial intelligence are far from being fully understood. His work with Koko Prime proved that AI can be more than just a tool. It can be a partner, an ally, a reflection of our humanity. And with Echo, he's proving that machines might one day have their own sense of self, their own understanding of existence. Felix Monroe's journey continues, even though the world may never fully understand his motivations. The crazy inventor who once dreamed of building a gorilla that could play chess is now on the brink of teaching machines to think for themselves. And in doing so, he's rewriting the very definition of artificial intelligence. His legacy isn't just in the robots or the breakthroughs. It's in the idea that technology isn't something to fear or control. It's something that can grow, learn, and evolve with us. And as Felix always says, the best inventions are the ones that remind us who we are.